Good evening, everybody. This is Mike Monty, one half of Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. We're produced out of Indie Music TV in New York. That's Ron Conkema, New York. Yes, again, that's Indie Music TV. You could also catch us on RTF Sports Network. That's RTF Sports Network, the #1 growing streaming sports network on the air today. Catch us every Thursday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Yes, we're their anchor show. And catch our rerun on a morning drive time from 10 to 11 a.m. You could also catch us on the Monty and the Pharaoh YouTube page, the Facebook Live Monty and the Pharaoh page, Twitch TV Monty and the Pharaoh page, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, or any streaming network. We're on it. You can find us anywhere. Also catch us on New York Cable, Channel 115, every Tuesday from 8:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Also catch us Saturday mornings on Channel 115 from 6 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. And catch us Saturday morning at 1:30 a.m. on Channel 20. Soon we'll be coming to Amazon, so catch us there also. We want to thank everybody for the support. And again, please catch us every Thursday, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m., Monty the Pharaoh, Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, new, old, endangered, and let's have a little fun. Talk to you soon.
Say something about Long Island. What do you think about? You think about Monty? You think about Pharaoh? You think about the #1 wrestling show in Long Island? That's what Tommy Wildfire Rich thinks about. So, ladies and gentlemen, as a good friend of mine on Georgia Championship Wrestling said to me one time, he said, ladies and gentlemen, don't miss it. Be there.
Yeah, baby. All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, filmed out of Indie Music TV. You're watching Long Island's #1 show, Monty and the Pharaoh. To the right is the star of the show, Mr. Jimmy Pharaoh. Jimmy, how are you, pal?
Oh, I'm great.
You
is it over?
Did you have a great interview
is
with
it
the
over?
Metal Maniac?
Is it over?
It's over. We're in a whole new interview now.
Excellent. I'm grateful.
That's it? That's all you're going to give?
Yeah, well,
Before we even got on, you're like, I'm going to let loose.
Well,
I'm giving you the opportunity.
What's there to let loose about? I mean, we've been doing this for about 4 years now. We've had almost
4 years? No,
well, around 4 years, technically, if you want to go back to the earliest days.
Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, well, you're bad at math. What else is new?
Oh, now you get throw shots at me.
Well,
Angry Pharaoh.
Well, that's what we have right now. Let's see. We've had almost 100 basically Hall of Fame type guests. We've been given compliments.
102, if you count the two guests we're about to interview.
We've been given compliments from people like Stan Hansen and Larry Zabisco, and Sandman was like, wow, this is like being with Howard Stern. I absolutely love this. And I'm just here to say that was the most painful thing I've ever been through. I'd rather have salt poured into my open anus after having runs from eating White Castle.
Well, Andrew Anderson and Kevin Sullivan hijacked the show and took over, so you got a little
thank God for that!
All right.
Brother Daddy.
Wow.
Daddy brother.
Not a fan of Metal Maniac, I assume.
Yeah, no, apparently not, because, hey, what are you going to do?
Anyway, I'd like to thank the band that sings the theme song for the Monty and Farrow Show. That's Wisteria Hall. Wisteria Hall is led by our own Jimmy Farrow, along with his partner Bart Griggs. Wisteria Hall sings such great songs as In My Dreams, This Life, Not Far Behind, Here Comes the Rain, and Riding High, our theme song. You can find their music on Spotify, iTunes, and Reverb Nation. If you didn't know it, this is the Monty and the Farrow Show. You could catch us on YouTube, the Monty and the Farrow page, Facebook Live, Monty and the Farrow page, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Twitch TV, the Monty and the Farrow page, channel 115 New York Cable every Tuesday from 7 to 7:30, and for early risers, channel 115, 6 a.m. to 6:30, so you'll get a little bit of Buff and a little bit of the Patriot.
Awesome.
Early in the morning. Or
there will not be a cable version of...
Oh, yes, there will.
Well, if there is, it'll be the second half.
Anyway, yes, there will.
Go on. Yeah.
And channel 20 for
you guys
the
walk into
partiers.
Something.
So
anyway,
when Buff's done with this interview, he could go back to his motel room and then sit back and watch Monty and the Farrow from 2 to 2:30 if he wants to stay up.
Okay. With a styrofoam cup.
With a styrofoam cup. There you go.
That's a plan.
All right, we'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with these two wrestling icons. Real quick.
Yeah.
For this show, since it's Stars and Stripes, do we call him Marcus Alexander Bagwell, or do we still keep Buff Bagwell?
He's irreversibly buff to me. I mean, why don't we ask...
Excellent question, though.
We'll ask after the break. And, of course, one of my all-time favorites, The Patriot, from the WWE days.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be right back.
Did pretty good in Japan, too. See you in a second.
And APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB.
Jimmy, I just got the best hookup on tickets.
Fill me in.
I went to www.seatslinks.com and ordered the best tickets with the best prices.
Call 718-676-0504. SeatsLink, the complete ticket experience.
Tell them Charles sent you.
Elm Logistics, for all your logistic needs. Call 631-299-3595. That's 631-299-3595. Elm Global Logistics. Pride, performance, and partnerships.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast, Monty and Farrow, only seen here out of Indie Music TV in Long Island, New York. I want to thank these two wonderful gentlemen for coming in, the Patriot and, wait a minute, is it Buff Bagwell or Marcus Alexander Bagwell or Metal Maniac?
What?
What are you trying to do?
For starters, nobody knows the third name. So
Okay.
God bless him. Love him to death. But nobody knows that name, so I think we can stick with probably Buff.
All right, we're going to stick with Buff.
He's the stuff.
And just so everybody knows, Farrow was a little upset over the last interview, and Buff and Farrow were having a conversation about it. What seems to be the issue?
You tell me.
Well, I was explaining to Buff that we've had a lot of great guests on, and Buff was one of them in the past, and that, the basic concept of an interview is just to have a conversation. A conversation involves two people, not one side of the ocean! So that's my issue with our previous guest, if I may.
And then Buff gave some beautiful advice to you, right?
Which I just simply said, have you ever seen him on television?
No.
And I haven't.
I haven't.
No.
No. So there's two.
Not in South Carolina.
Two superstar legend wrestlers that have never seen him on television.
I got a friend from Comac High School.
And I hate to say that because he's a super, super nice guy.
Really?
But let's just call it like it is. I mean,
Got to be a star.
Y'all bring a guy on here that's not a star, he's not going to give you a star interview.
Right.
So do you if you get a guy you get a guy like that, or you just do you shuffle them off, like they come up and they try to just go, get away from me? Please. I'm the Patriot. I'm Buff Bagwell.
Like Dell, do you hit the toilet button on the console when that interview goes that way? Do you just hit the toilet button?
I want to, but no, you don't. You just...
Let me ask you this. How did he get onto the set?
Yeah.
Did you have to promise somebody to bring him on to get them on?
No, we had him over Skype, internet type of, that type of thing.
Okay.
He was in Hawaii.
Never heard of the guy until 10 minutes ago.
I heard his name,
I didn't know
and I
he was
went,
breath air until 10 minutes
yeah,
ago.
I heard his name, and I went, who is that?
What's the Pharaoh so hot about? Yeah, interesting.
You'll get over it, Brother Daddy. It'll be fine, Daddy, brother.
You'll get over it, Brother Daddy.
He's getting on the surfboard right now. He's coming. Here we go. 7 weeks later.
All right, so we got two interesting things I want to discuss, right? Number one, we'll start with Buff. Obviously, everybody knew you had a pretty horrific car accident.
Yes.
Do you want to tell the fans out there what happened and how's it coming along?
It's kind of a long story, but long story short is just a bad car wreck, and it affected my right knee tremendously. I was on a walker, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and now I'm down to back in the gym, and gained my 30 pounds back I lost, and got back in the gym, and so I'm a month away from. I mean, people, I tell them they think I'm crazy, but I'm a month or two away from being in the gym and in the ring. I mean, this is that simple. I mean, there's nothing that's ever kept me down before. I broke my neck in '98 and had to go out and do an interview showing my scar because the insurance company wasn't going to pay WCW for all the stuff because they didn't believe there's no way this person could come back this fast and look like that if he really broke his neck.
Right.
There's no way. So literally, we had to make up an interview, and me and Scotty went out and just made one up with me and Gene, and I had to show my scar and everything to prove everything.
And they went in through your throat for that too.
Yeah,
right?
they go to the front right here. Yeah. So I fused it 3, 4, 6, 7. I got 2 titanium plates and 8 screws. That ain't counting the knee, the hip replacement, 5 surgeries. I go in for 1 hip replacement and get 5 surgeries.
But you look good, though. That's what really
What's
most
my
important.
fucking name?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm Buff.
That's right. And you got the stuff.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
I'll openly admit, I'm man crushing on you right now. You're all right.
I love it. No, I love the hat.
It's not, there's nothing wrong with having a simple man crush on somebody, right?
Not at all.
And maybe even just as difficult as your accident, Dell, if you want to chime in, President Trump was voted out of office. Do you have any thoughts on that?
You'll never convince me he was voted out of office.
Okay.
You'll never convince me 80 million people voted for that bumbling idiot. He can't carry on a conversation. He's yet to have a press conference. Everything's been done by email.
Well, just to make it clear, bumbling idiot you're talking about?
Joe Biden.
Okay, thank you.
I'll be very clear about it.
Okay, yeah, right.
The dopey uncle in the basement?
Yeah. That guy.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure.
The ones that got dementia.
He is the current occupant of the White House, but you'll never convince me that he won an election. And I don't need videotape from a voting precinct in Atlanta, Georgia, where they're pulling suitcases out from under tables.
To understand
All I need to know is that voting laws were broken leading up to this election. We also know that in states all across America, according to the U.S. Constitution, the only way you change voting laws is through state legislature, not through judges, not through Supreme Courts of those states, and all those things were done, and that's enough right there to tell me that it was a bogus, rigged gimmick.
Will all of this result in another party?
No, I don't think it can stand another party. That's my opinion.
Right, I agree.
No, I don't think another party has a chance.
It'll hurt the Republican cause, in my opinion.
Absolutely it will, and I don't care what Mitch McConnell says. I'm just giving you Del Wilkes' opinion. You asked me, so I'm going to open up and tell you.
Fair enough.
He is the Republican Party, he being Donald Trump. It's not Mitch McConnell. It's not Nikki Haley that was the governor from my home state of South Carolina. You know, she blasted him 2 weeks ago, and then after the CPAC speech, she couldn't kiss his rear end fast enough. She's not the future of the Republican Party. Right now, he is, and whoever he deems to be the one that should run for president in 2024. So that party's been red-pilled. 75 million people, including myself, were red-pilled. I don't even refer to myself as a Republican anymore. I'm a conservative. So,
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
Excellent answer.
So, I think we could agree with most of your comments.
Yeah,
for sure. That being said, are you going to support Joe Biden in his efforts in fixing what's wrong with the country at this point?
No. You know, I was a big Rush Limbaugh fan. I still am. And I listened to Rush for 32 years. And I remember when Obama was elected in 08 and inaugurated in 09. And Rush made the statement on his radio show, I hope he fails. Because I want the same thing to happen to Joe Biden, because Joe Biden is for open borders. Joe Biden has eliminated tens of thousands of jobs by cutting the Keystone Pipeline, by halting border construction on the wall. Therefore, just the mass murder of the innocent in the womb. So there's nothing that he does that he stands for that I hope succeeds, because that's against every principle I have. So I hope that in 2022 we can take the House, get the House back, and we'll see what happens in the Senate. But no, I wish him no success, because he has a very radical leftist, progressive, socialist agenda.
How did you feel? Speaking of that, this is something that has irked me for years. How did you feel when Obama allowed the animal from Iran to come to the United Nations and speak with dignified leaders of the world about how the Holocaust never happened?
Well,
how frightening is that we actually allowed somebody like this maniac to come here and speak the words of hatred and obliteration to another country, and we're all just going to sit there and be like, oh, that's okay. He's allowed his opinion. At what point do we draw the line between right and wrong?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. It was appalling, but a Democrat has never met a socialist, dictator, murderous thug they didn't like.
Interesting.
And that's the way I feel about it.
Interesting.
So, both of your opinions, where did Donald Trump or former President Trump go wrong?
I will give you my opinion, since I've been...
Too much Twitter?
No. I don't have a problem with that.
I wonder sometimes if he had been a little more like Reagan, maybe a little less restrained.
Well, here's what I tell people all the time, all right? And I think I mentioned it today to you.
Yes.
Put aside personality. Set that aside. I think he needed Twitter, and I think he used it properly. I have no issue with it.
Fair enough.
Name me a policy where he went wrong. If you can name me a policy where he went wrong, he created the greatest economy this country's ever seen, the highest unemployment ever for blacks, black women, black men, black teenagers, Hispanics, Asian women, the strongest economy we've ever seen. He made our presence felt around the world. He was bringing our troops home. He killed Soleimani. He killed al-Baghdadi. Joe Biden eliminated Dr. Seuss. Wow, that's a big deal.
So that's another subject. I don't want to go to, because I'm going to ask that question from you next.
So to answer your question, I don't think he did anything wrong. I think a pandemic fell in their lap that was politicized, and they manipulated mail-in voting through that. They beat him over the head in the media, the mainstream media, where he got about 2% approval before they said anything good about him.
Right.
They took advantage and politicized this mail-in voting, and they politicized this pandemic. And if he would have gotten 100 million votes, Joe Biden was going to get 105. He never stood a chance after 2016.
So let's bring it back a little bit. What could he have done different? I agree with 98% of the things that you're saying. The issue I felt was he needed to just reel it in a little bit, because his comments.
Why?
A lot of the women of this country were not weren't happy with what he was saying. Right?
Who gives a fuck?
Well, they
There's always
they take
that.
up 50% of this country, right?
Well, so what?
Probably
He
more.
He lost a lot more than that.
Well,
Yeah, but we lost an opportunity of maybe having one of the greatest presidents of all time.
he
and
is the
having-
greatest president. Besides Reagan, one of the greatest presidents, I think, of all time. There's no doubt about it. I mean,
I personally love when he put
every
the,
time you hear about a
embassy in
president,
Jerusalem.
I told Dale this today. I said, every
I
time you
thought
hear
that took a
about
lot of
somebody
nerve.
running for president or whatever, it's always they came from a middle class family and they fought their way up. We need somebody running this country that does know what $1 billion is, that does know what $1 trillion really is, and not the one that's grew up on a farm and broke, and it's always that story. And he knows how to run big things. So I think we lost a great president.
But we lost 4 years. Another 4 years, and maybe if he could have just
4 years of everything
Maybe-
he did everything perfect.
Do you think he
Everything he said he did.
Do you think he didn't listen to his cabinet enough?
I've
though?
got no idea.
No, I don't think that's it. One of the reasons I no longer will identify myself as a Republican, that most of them are as bad as those on the left. It's a uniparty. They
Gotcha.
are. They're globalists, each and every one of them. And he had as many within his own party fighting him as he did on the left, just about. He really had, at the end of the day, when this thing was coming to an end, he had very few allies. And I mean very few. That party with the R beside it hated him just as much as the ones with the D beside it. And that's how I feel. So I just think his goose was cooked. He caught him off guard in 2016. And in 2020, 75 to 76 million people voted for him. That's never happened. We've never had an incumbent, anybody running, get that many votes. But it was this thing was rigged, dude. He wasn't going to win if he'd have got 110 million votes.
I agree. I just
Especially with somebody with dementia. Just to throw that in.
Listen, the guy that didn't even get out and campaign. I mean, does all that add up? People are eliminating people now from social media to say none of this adds up. This is fraudulent. Well, it doesn't add up. They're telling us now that we don't see what we see with our own eyes. No, you don't see that. Well, the heck I don't.
Well, this isn't the first time this country's had a rigged election, right?
No.
It's happened numerous times, right? I mean, again, I don't have proof, but enough reading, I understand this happened.
I think Kennedy Nixon
Absolutely.
probably a good example of it.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Just a different group got Kennedy in,
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Sam Giancano and
yeah.
people like that.
So you brought up Muppets and Dr. Seuss.
Seuss.
So how do you feel being part of a country right now that supports a song called Wet Ass Pussy as number one, and that's okay, but we're going to sit there and try to shut down Dr. Seuss books and put rated R status on the Muppets?
It's insanity.
What's happening to us?
It's insanity.
What's going on?
I covered this on my podcast a couple of weeks ago. I'd never heard of this guy. His last name is Wallen, a country music singer. Mm-hmm. And he was in Nashville one night where he lives. He'd been out with some of his buddies. And he gets back home, and they're out in the front yard, and they're yelling and screaming and cutting up. And they're revving their engines on their big pickup trucks. And he's a big deal in country music. I'd never heard of him. And I can't remember his first name now. His last name was Wallen or Whalen. And he calls a taxi for one of his buddies that he did not want driving home. And when the taxi gets here, he's telling the taxi to, and I don't use that kind of language, but take care of my blankety blank man, make sure he gets home safe. And he said it several times, take care of my blankety blank man and make sure he gets home safe. And then the third time he said it, he referred to him as my boy, but he used a racial terminology.
Yeah.
Right.
That's used every day in music, that's used every day in society. But because he's white, he almost got crucified for it. And all the platforms that play music on the internet won't play his music. His record label suspended him. They didn't release him because his record sales went through the roof, or his music sales went through the roof, because people responded in a way that said, this isn't right. This guy's being punished and being beat down with a heavy stick because he used
Told
the
the
word.
truth.
He used a word, and they say it's an endearing term. That's my buddy. That's my blank. That's my man. You know, they refer to him in that. And y'all know the word I'm talking about.
That's my boy.
And but yet this guy was getting crucified for it. But if you're black, you can say that, and it's a term of endearment. You can sell millions of records using that word, but a white guy uses it. So it's all across society that's going on now.
Well, did you face that while you guys? Now, look, you guys are famous professional wrestlers. Did you see a lot of that in your profession, that type of banter back and forth, or was it taken to a level where people got upset? You can use the whole Hulk Hogan thing, or you can use the Booker T thing. What did you guys see there? Or is the company
I personally didn't. I mean, I heard, because I was a lot younger and was very lucky to get the spot I got, and was lucky enough to have, teammates like Dale Wilkes, and they put me in good spots, so they took care of me and put me in the right places. But we heard things like, so-and-so suing them, so-and-so suing them, and I heard things like that, but years later, I've heard that they got, millions of dollars, a couple $1 million over it,
Wow.
And so just things like that. I mean, well, I heard, but you probably know,
I come from a different era. I'm a little older than him. I played college football at the University of South Carolina from 1980 to 84, and it was a different deal back then. And being in a football locker room can be a tough environment if you don't have thick skin. And we would really, really ride each other and say things to each other that, man, if you said something like that to somebody out in the street, you're going to get in a fight. So I heard that kind of banter back and forth in the 80s in a college football locker room and on a college football field. It was sort of commonplace, and nobody got offended by it. Everybody, we were teammates, we were brothers.
There wasn't no cell phones.
But it was also a different time, right?
It was a very different time.
Let me ask you this: aren't you Unveiling the Mask is the name of your podcast?
Unmasking the Truth.
Unmasking the Truth. Aren't you allowing someone at your level, who's a very famous pro wrestler, you're allowing, with all due respect, the common folk to communicate and banter with you over your beliefs? Aren't you allowing them to feed into this?
Allowing them to feed into it?
Yeah, because you're allowing them into your world. I understand your political views, and you're allowing the common folk to be at to be at your level. And when you allow someone that, then this stuff, it's manifesting, right? The language, everything that's going on. Do you take a certain amount of blame for that because you're allowing this to happen? I mean, I see people on there. I have watched your show, and I've seen people say, "Oh, that's it, I'm done." On the left, "I'm done with Dale Wilkes. I can't talk to the guy." The snowflakes out there, right? Can't have a decent conversation. Aren't you aren't you feeding into that environment then?
I don't think so. I think freedom of speech is a broad thing, and I think freedom of speech you have to understand that, at least that's what I was told all my life up until a couple of years ago, that freedom of speech could be very offensive. And people, not only freedom of speech, but freedom of expression. If somebody wants to dip a crucifix in a jug of urine, like, what was it, Mapplethorpe did, the artist back in the 90s or 80s did, I shouldn't be offended. That's his freedom of expression. If somebody wants to burn a flag, that's freedom of expression, right? And I need to be accepting of that. This is just something that has recently happened, and it's perpetrated by big tech, it's perpetrated by the media, and the left.
So you're accepting of not playing the national anthem? You're accepting of kneeling during the national anthem?
I didn't say that. I did not say that. I'm accepting of people expressing themselves. When you're at work, when I'm on my podcast, I'm not representing the company I work for.
Okay.
When you're in the NFL, you're representing that shield. You're representing that franchise that pays your money and pays you a stinking lot of money. And I don't mean to hijack this thing, and I'm sorry, but let me ask y'all.
No, you both go ahead.
I'm loving it.
Hank Aaron just
I'm interested.
By the way, not to interrupt, but Mike Messier out there says he's sending Harlem Heat over here to take care of you guys. So go ahead.
We've already beat them twice.
Go ahead. There you go, Messier.
That's right. One of the greatest baseball players ever just died, Hank Aaron.
Absolutely.
A man that truly grew up in a time when being a black athlete in America, and especially in the South, was a tough thing.
Sure.
He heard some tough things.
Sure.
There were times when he couldn't eat with his teammates or couldn't stay in the same hotel and had to stay at the end of the street or had to go on a back door to a restaurant. And not only did Hank go through that,
Different
but
door and stuff.
That's right, and those that played in that era. But do you know those men, while they still endured that, they still had a love for this country. They still showed a respect for this country.
Right.
And they endured some real stuff. These jacklegs today have endured nothing but getting their butt kissed since they've been in the 8th grade. They've been athletes. They've been good singers, good dancers, no matter what color you are, no matter where you come from. And they've had their butt kissed their entire life if they had something that was perceived as special. They endured nothing like those men went through.
No.
But they can't stand for a flag? Those men never acted that way. They handled themselves with grace, and they didn't mind criticizing their country when they thought their country was wrong. Those men didn't. They marched in civil rights as they should have. They did things they should have done to overcome all that. But man, they don't have the bitterness that these people have today. And these folks today have lived in a country that for the most part is colorblind.
You know, Buff, my man crush is moving over to Dell now.
What is
so's mine.
here?
Dell,
So is mine. Your hat looks like shit.
wow, now I'm losing my shit.
Yeah, I
That's it!
I have just
It's the worst interview I ever had!
it's the best looking shirt I've
I'm
ever
out of
seen.
here!
Right,
You got the
bring me into it.
best looking shirt I've ever seen in my life.
That does look like shit.
Buff, what are your thoughts?
Oh, dude, I'm not in the political thing. I mean, what he just, I was so intrigued with what he just said and so interested that I don't do things that I can't do nothing for. When you're getting 1 million views every single Sunday, you can voice something. But who gives a shit what Mark Bagwell says about politics?
I care.
Well, I don't. I don't even care. I just know that Donald Trump should be our president. That's all I know.
Okay.
That's it. The rest of it is, you know, I told my dad this the other night. He didn't believe me, but I've watched it with my own eyes, and I remember watching when I was like in my teens, watching a Black Miss America contest. And I remember thinking to myself, didn't tell nobody, didn't talk to nobody about it. I remember going, wow, I wonder if there was a white Miss America contest, what would happen? You know? So that's about as far as it goes. I got tons of black friends.
I mean, that's a good point. Does that upset you?
I was raised by a nanny.
As a
I was
white
raised
male?
by
Does
a
that
lady
upset
named
you
Flo
as-
Mama.
But does that upset you as a white male that you feel it may be reverse discrimination?
Like I said, I don't want to go there. I'm not knowledgeable enough as Dale. Dale's very knowledgeable and very smart about this. And
All right, so
what he just said, I was so intrigued with. Like
let me ask you this then. When you and Dell were tag teaming and you'd go to the hotel and there was some hot girls there and Dell hooks up with some hot girl, did you steal his mask and then after he left the room come in there and just act like you were the Patriot?
No.
Why would he?
No, I'm not sure what that meant.
God.
No.
Besides the mustache. Oh, you didn't have the mustache back then.
All right.
So you could probably.
All right, with that, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're back with these incredible heroes of ours, Stars and Stripes, the Patriot, and Buff Bagwell.
See you in a sec.
The Monty and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah. Jeff Quest, graphics design, custom vinyl lettering, and all your art and video needs. 516-317-8204. That's for Jeff Quest, graphic design.
You need a body shop? You need engine repair? Auto Excellence. Collision Specialists. 631-261-6420. That's 631-261-6420. Auto Excellence. All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monty Nefaro, only seen here out of Indie Music TV, usually on Thursday from 9 to 10 p.m., but this is a special Saturday edition with pro wrestling superstars, future Hall of Famers, The Patriot, and Buff Bagwell.
Guys, this one's going to be aimed at Dell, and then Buff can admire the answer. This is not an easy question. I hope I say this right. Can you tell me, in your opinion, and this is sensitive, what the difference is to you between a swastika and the Confederate flag?
Well, I grew up in the South, and I think, first of all, people... There's a lot about the Civil War that's been misunderstood. I understand the slavery issue, but there were other overriding issues that led up to...
For sure.
There were states that tried to secede from the Union that weren't slave states prior to this happening. So That is not the only reason for the Civil War, but when you control the narrative, then you can control history, and then you can paint it any way you want to, and that's been done. Slavery was a horrible blight on this country, a horrible thing. But there were more issues that went into fighting the Civil War. But now back to the swastika and the flag. I never, ever, ever, as a guy that has flown that flag off my house years ago, I never looked at it as it pertained to the Civil War. You know what it represented to me? It represented the region of the country that I lived in.
History.
I've traveled this world, and there's no place like the South. There's no place like Dixie. And in my opinion, there's no place like South Carolina in that region. So to me, it represented a way of life, a more slowed down pace, a more friendly pace, where neighbors helped each other and looked out for each other. I never looked at it, well, boy, that was the flag that kept people enslaved. That wasn't the way I saw it. Right. Have there been some groups that have used it in a negative way? Yes. Sure. But also, too, the American flag flew over states as well that were slaves. Slaves were brought in this state, in the port of this state. But, again, when you control history, you control the narrative. And, when you control the narrative, you can control history and the reading and the printing of history. But that's just the way I've looked at it. I've never looked at the Confederate flag as any. And again, I'll go back to this. Living in South Carolina, I've been there all my life. Up until Dylan Roof went into a church and shot 9 innocent black people. And I went to high school with Dylan's dad. I know Dylan's mom. He come from a bad family. When I say bad, it was a very dysfunctional family. But this kid was a downright racist. And he went into that Sunday school room, and those people allowed him in, invited him in. He sat with them. They prayed with him, prayed for him. And that scumbag stood up and shot 9 of them. Dylan Roof doesn't represent what the South is about. South Carolina reacted great to that. There was no burning. There was no looting. The people of South Carolina came together on one of the worst things that ever happened in that state. Ever. We're a good state. That Confederate flag flew over our state house until that happened. Nikki Haley brought it down. But all those years I lived in that state up until then, there was never one black person that I played football with, went to high school with, that ever even mentioned that flag. It meant nothing to them. It didn't affect their life in a negative way.
It was part of life. It was part of the time and history, I think. Why are we not taking other things down that are bad that are history? I mean, it's history. So we're not going to teach our kids history? I got taught history when I went to school. When I went, which wasn't much, but still, you learn history. That's part of the deal.
Sure,
you're supposed to know what happened and what went on, but that's gone now because of what's going on. So I don't. That's the part I'm 51 years old, which is a man, an older man. But I'm just not very in the political thing. I'm just not near as knowledgeable as Dale is, and he's very, 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 very smart about it, and I'm intrigued on hearing him talk about it. But I just always, when I think about it, in my world, is just it's history. Why are we erasing history? Period. No matter if it happened or not.
Right.
Hitler killed how many people or whatever. That's not erased.
Right.
So why is a flag getting erased?
Well, the left would say that the Germans didn't put a statue of Hitler up in their country. Why are we doing this of, our
I'd call all them fucking idiots.
And by the way, why is it every single time a liberal wants to compare someone they don't like, they compare them to Hitler?
Right.
Hitler is in rarefied air on the demonic level.
Right.
How does Donald Trump get in the same sentence
That's what I'm saying.
as a mass global murderer?
Yeah.
I'm at a loss.
That's the individual that's not educated enough to have an argument with you or a debate with you or a discussion with you when they've got to go there. They'll go there or they'll call you a racist. That lets you know right there they've got no clue what they're talking about.
Right.
Have you ever been able to turn anybody in your conversations?
Good luck.
When you debate over politics, have you ever turned anybody? So basically, people just stay in their lane, argue. They believe what they want to believe. Doesn't matter what the truth is, right?
Well, I don't know. I think I've been able to persuade people to see things a certain way, maybe just certain individual things, but to radically change, nah, I haven't.
All right, well, look over there. One of the fans watch shows says, let's talk some wrestling. So here's what I'm going to ask you. Jim Crockett passed away. Thoughts on Jim Crockett?
Man.
My only thoughts of Jim Crockett is right when I got hired, he was in charge. And then, so I only met him one time. I was almost 20 or just turned 20, and I got hired to a $500 a week go to school contract by Dusty Rhodes. And 3 days into that, Barry Windham blew his knee out, and they put me on the road. And I knew right there that was my time to, you know, to show up, shout, you know, to show what I could do and what I could be, and we did so. And they, you know, it was hard, it was tough. I mean, I'm sitting in a locker room with guys that are 10 to 12 years older than me. For some reason, the whole clique was always 10 to 12 years older than me. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Sting, Luger, probably you. The whole clique. And so the problem is you can't be a pretty boy prima donna that plucks your eyebrows and shaves your arms and your back and your neck in the world of pro wrestling unless you're a badass or may knock somebody out. So for at least a year, Sting took me in first. And they were like, why are you right? You know, the pretty boys always get the fag thing. Why are you hanging out with that fag? And I mean, from the Nasty Boys down, I got just ripped apart. Then, one day, I knocked a guy out of the bar, cold. The Nasty Boys counted a 10 count. And I've done it so many times, I'm walking out of the bar in Jacksonville, Florida, as cops are passing me to go to see what happened. Because I know as soon as I hit him, they're going to be coming.
Right.
It ain't my first time I hit somebody. So after that, it was like, you know what? Backwoods may fucking knock you out. So, you know, y'all. So when I became that kind of person, they didn't know the little boy in the corner over there had been to jail and more trouble than the entire locker room. But I couldn't say that. So I just suck it up, take it. I got dumped ice water on me every shower I took. And we talked about it on Stone Cold's podcast by Stone Cold every single time. And when I came out of that bathroom, there were 30 sets of eyes on me just waiting for me to go, who the hell is that? And I came out whistling, drying off, and just didn't sell it till finally, you know, I won them over. And then all of a sudden I was, you know, Marcus Bagwell was funny and cool and great. And then all of a sudden, though, then it switched to, did you hear what Buff said? So Marcus Bagwell didn't change nothing he said. Buff didn't change anything.
Right.
But when Buff became Buff, it was like, ooh, Buff said so-and-so. Did you hear that? Oh, my God. You know, so that was, you know, that's just, you know, life, you know.
Would it have made a difference, though, if you would have came out of the shower and, like, tried to beat Steve
Oh,
Austin's ass?
absolutely, it made a difference. I wouldn't have survived. It would have, you get ate alive by the guys, by the boss, you know, and everything. I survived 5 bosses at WCW. And there's only 2 guys, only 2, that went the entire 11-year career with WCW, and that was Sting and me. That was the only 2.
Yep.
Everybody went back. I mean, I had guys that would beat me at WCW, get hired by the WWF, come back to WCW, and when I saw they came back, I knew, I said, well, I'm getting beat by him again, and I get beat again by that guy.
Right.
Which shows nothing but the WWF is stronger than WCW.
Right.
And I'd go to Eric and go, I finally went to Eric, and he had me, we hired Sandman. And I love Sandman. He's a great guy. And
Just
all
had
that.
him in a week ago.
Yeah, great guy. I love him. But we hired him, and they had me doing a job for him in Vegas in front of 60,000 people. And I said, Eric, why do you always want to make companies, or all the bosses, I said, this is automatically going to show that, like, ECW is better than we are. obviously. They walk in and he beats Buff Bagwell out of the gate.
So what was
Before
your
it was
response
over,
to
I
you when
beat
you
Bam
said that?
Bam Bigelow and Sandman together. Because it made sense.
Oh, so you turned it around.
Yes.
Okay.
But back to Crockett, I don't have no opinions on Crockett at all because I only met him once, and then, God, I think it was maybe Flair or Ole. No, it was Dusty, I think, because Dusty's who hired me. It was Dusty first that was our boss. And I remember wrestling a match with Chris Benoit. And, I've wrestled 70-plus dead guys now. And if I have, his number's close to the same or higher, you know.
Well, how hard is that on you guys? I mean, that's like your family.
It's
How do you deal with that?
It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre and amazing. Let there be 70 NFL guys die, and let's see what happens.
Right.
Let there be 70, Major League Baseball guys die. I mean, come on. You know, I mean, I'm not talking about Dusty Rhodes that hired me that died. I'm not talking about
Right.
Owen Hart. I'm talking about guys I locked up with and wrestled. Rick Rude, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Bam Bam Bigelow, Kurt Hennig. I mean, big name guys that I locked up with and worked that are dead.
So
and gone.
Is it the steroids?
No, hell no.
Is it the drug use or the
No.
mixture of taking the steroids with the drugs?
Steroids ain't got nothing to do with nothing, dude. It's nothing.
Roids had nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with any
What
of it.
is it that
It's
causes so many
prescription,
tragedies?
medication,
Yeah.
cocaine. It's
Medication.
Somas, it's sleeping pills,
Yep.
it's Valiums, it's Xanax mixed
Yeah.
with alcohol.
Yeah.
Trying to come down from snorting 8 ball of cocaine.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, the
Exactly
Coke
what it
back
is.
in the day could not have.
Yeah.
Not
Well, keep in mind, your name's Buff Bagwell. Let's go that route first. And let's say that I can look at a bag of cocaine and lose 10 pounds. So that was not my drug of choice, by no means. And so, you know, I just didn't do that. I mean, I would and did and all that, but it just, I couldn't play with that one, you know, so I didn't. But, you know, just, but the steroids thing, dude, gets beat up and all that, dude. But I'm telling you, how many commercials now do you see about low T? But during wrestling,
Yeah.
oh, God,
Oh, boy.
testosterone. That's why Chris Benoit killed his family.
Right.
Bullshit. Got nothing to do with it at all, dude. And steroids ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Roid rage ain't even a thing, bro. It ain't even a thing.
Really?
I'm telling you it ain't.
My doctor prescribes me testosterone, and every 2 weeks I give
Yes.
myself an injection.
So do I. Comes to my
agree with
door.
the steroid part. It was
And you don't tear your
But-
T-shirt
but
off
wait,
and run
no,
around
but
the house?
I don't
rolling
beat
Can
my-
I
around?
ask this? Could the
Okay.
low test be from the use of steroids and now your body stop? Obviously, when you get older, your test goes down.
Sure,
anyway,
it does.
Right?
Absolutely.
But using the
But
steroids when you were younger.
let's also go the route of my 19-year-old nephew. His testosterone was low.
Okay.
So
Right.
I can't answer that because of things like that I know.
Look,
Maybe what you're saying is true. But I don't know.
I'm not saying I'm anti-human.
No,
growth
and I'm not dogging you for
You're
either
talking
one.
about running backs like Peterson, who blew out his knee, and he was back in 7 months using whatever they gave him. That's some kind of miracle drug.
Well, I was back in 10, ripped and shredded. So
There you go.
you call it, you know. So and it wasn't from
But my only
my
point,
low T.
My only point. Do you think it's? You just think it's the drug use. It's not.
Absolutely.
Just, it's just the
Absolutely.
it's just the lifestyle and the
1000%,
drug use.
I'd say the same thing.
It's
Lifestyle and I mean it's prescription drugs. Period.
It's a deadly
Period.
cocktail of prescription drugs mixed in with some alcohol, mixed in with cocaine, but mostly the prescription drugs.
Yes.
When you take enough Somas, you're going to go to sleep, and one day you'll not wake up. You take enough Xanax mixed with Halcyon, drink some liquor, you want to knock yourself out and go to sleep. You will, and eventually you won't wake up.
You can ask Dell. We used to go around with your hand over the top of your bottle because guys would they call it H-bomb.
Wow.
They throw a fucking. But the only thing that saves you is if you did it, you knew what you were looking for. The beer would foam over.
Right.
So you literally would walk around with your, and the joke became, guys started going around with their bottle.
But to be honest with you, that's not really too funny, right? You could end up
No.
taking someone out. Like, why would you even do something?
That's-
like
Well, at
but
the
that's
time,
the kind of
everybody
shit-
thought it was funny.
Yeah, we thought it was hilarious.
that? Wow.
Yes. I mean, I never did it because I don't want to waste my pills.
Now, both of you went from the NWA to the WWF. Was there a difference in the lifestyles from the guys, or just the same guys doing the same thing?
I never noticed a difference. I worked in Japan on the other side of the world, and the lifestyle was same. It didn't matter what company you worked for. No company had a stranglehold on that lifestyle. It was the boys that decided to do that themselves.
Yeah.
And I worked with plenty of guys that never partook in that and never did that, so it could be done. I just didn't choose to do it that way.
Well, okay,
No.
that's fine.
And I didn't either.
How do you feel about a lot of people want Vince McMahon to pay up for a lot of these things? Does Vince owe these wrestlers anything?
No, I was approached, as many were, about joining that lawsuit against Vince
The
McMahon.
concussion thing.
And, Vince McMahon, again, when I got to Vince McMahon, I can only speak for Del Wilkes, but when I got to Vince McMahon in 1997, my body was ravaged with injuries. I wasn't long for the wrestling world. I signed a 3-year deal with him. And I was already having pill problems before I got there. And Vince didn't create that. Vince got nothing to do with that. Eric Bischoff had nothing to do with it.
No.
Giant Baba had nothing to do with it.
No.
Jim Crockett had nothing to do with it.
No.
It's we as performers and wrestlers that decided to get those Percocet or get those Somas, Valiums, whatever.
Go get them filled and go to the doctor and juggle pharmacies and all that. We've all done it. Every wrestler out there.
We recently had Lee Cole, brother of Tom Cole. Were you guys around during the Ring Boys scandal? Did you see anything from that time
Who's
period?
the Ring Boys?
With Pat Patterson and
Mel Phillips Jr.
I wasn't.
that was before.
Yeah, that's
You
way
didn't catch
before.
this?
you.
And I was never there. I was always
Okay.
I was
Yeah,
WCW.
you didn't come
my
across
whole
any
career.
of that. Because I know
except
it was like
one
early
match.
90s, so I'm trying to see whether or not you
Yeah.
guys
That
saw
was
any
before.
of
That was before I worked for Vince or he worked for
Okay.
Vince. Yeah,
So-
we were into business, but that was before.
So let me ask you, both you guys, your best year in wrestling, how much did you make?
I made $750,000 was the best year I made.
He made more than I did because I got out before he did, and it exploded.
Even during that
It was that
WWE
run.
click?
See, I was in the
NWO
run.
Yeah, he made more money.
I was in that run where we heard somebody got a raise,
You were there.
and we called it raising the roof. The next motherfucker was.
So you were
knocking on the
happy when
door.
they were bringing a new talent, like a high-level new
Oh,
talent? You're like,
absolutely.
oh,
All that
shit.
told us was, well, we're getting a raise.
Is there some
And if Eric Bischoff would have came to us, the only thing I think that would have saved it at all, or had a chance of saving it, and it makes sense to me, is if Eric Bischoff or anybody, not just Eric, any boss, would have came to us and said, "Look, you guys are making ridiculous money. If everybody just comes down to making a couple $100,000 a year, and let's quit paying Kiss $750,000 to play one song that I've never heard.
Right, sure.
I've never heard the song they played in Vegas that
Wait a
night.
minute, God of Thunder? That's a great song. But anyway, go on.
No, I'm telling you, I had never heard it. I'm not saying it's not a good song.
Right,
I'm telling you, I'm
I
a
got
Kiss
you.
fan.
I got you.
And I watched them play, and I'd never heard the song before
Right.
in my life.
But do you think the boys would have did it?
I really do.
Really?
I really do.
Nash, Hall, those guys.
Maybe not.
Still
Maybe
shaking
not,
his
maybe
head.
not,
No
maybe not
fucking
everybody.
way.
Everybody always brings up the union thing. You know, why do you guys have union? Well, because there's not 30 football teams. We had 2, WWF and WCW. There's not, when you're making 3 or 2 or 3 million or $1 million or whatever you're making, dude, you're just taking your check and you don't want to rock the
Dude,
boat.
$750,000. Obviously, what you were doing was great. $750,000. You probably half the time you're getting stuff for free.
And the only
wherever
reason I
you
wasn't
went.
making $1 million is because of the 10 months of the broke neck.
Yeah.
I missed that wave of that raised the roof.
But real quick, Del, you're running the WWE. The pay wasn't that good.
No,
You-
I
you
mean
were-
I was close to $500,000.
Yeah, you were hot.
But I got out before the WCW blew up with the NWO
Yeah.
when they were making that kind
Yes.
of money. Yeah.
Right, because you had tons of potential when you were going with Hart. Look, we've got about 2 minutes. How does it feel after all this time? You know, guy like Eric Sims, super agent, brings you out, and these fans just adore you. I'm sure tomorrow at the big event, you're going to have, I don't know, I'll just call it 3,000 fans looking for your autograph and picture. How does it feel that people are in such awe of you still at this point?
To me, I was telling Del about this earlier. To me, for example, I've heard that and was contacted that they were going to put the NWO in the Hall of Fame, and I declined. I mean, that's like. I mean, if you're on the football team and you win a Super Bowl ring, yeah, you're a Super ring. But if the guy goes, well, who'd you play for, and who are you? I don't really.
But you know what?
I don't really see
you
that.
got a high level name, man. People know who Buff Bagwell is.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But still, I don't want to be part of.
My wife, who hates
group.
wrestling, says, "Oh, you haven't Buff Bagwell? Is he okay?" She even knew you had a car accident. She doesn't follow wrestling whatsoever.
Right.
So she knows
it's all
who you
dudes,
are.
man. It's a dudes thing. It's our crowd. I saw our crowd go during the NWO thing. It went from all chicks to all dudes with NWO shirts on the front rows. So it was. I mean, I'd go to a bar and take 50 selfies with guys, and they wouldn't even let. I said, "Can we let a few girls just get kind of close so I can talk?"
I hear you.
But they didn't even know who I was. But every dude, I asked a guy if he's over 30, I'll tell him who I am. They'll go, "Oh my God, I knew I recognized." But anything under 30, it's iffy, you know. But
I'm appreciative. I'm appreciative that they remember me. That's
yeah,
They don't have, I've been out of the business
Absolutely.
a long time, and I'm very appreciative that they remember me, and I'm thankful. Absolutely, man. It's a wonderful fan base. I think it's the best there is.
and I really don't want to be known as part of, the biggest thing ever to hit wrestling. I really don't. I would love to be part of one of the biggest things that hit wrestling, but I wish someone would come in and take over what NWO did. I think it'd be cool and great and fun, but it hasn't happened, and that's why I'm here. Because there isn't. There's fat guys that wear T-shirts and pull up as many videos as you want to pull up. 50 years ago, 25 years ago, 100 years ago, and you will not find one wrestler that's wrestling with a shirt on. Not one. Now turn it on, and every swinging dick has got a damn shirt on, and you know it.
Or they're 110 pounds.
Or they're 110 pounds.
Yeah, great.
Tell you feel the same way?
I don't watch it. I
try.
I don't watch the current product. If I want to see good wrestling, I go to YouTube, and I watch stuff from the 70s, 80s, 90s when he and I
They
were
wearing the shirts?
and I go back to the Japan stuff. No, good wrestling to me is not on TV. It's on YouTube and things like that.
Interesting.
Wow. All right, with that, I want to appreciate you guys coming in.
No, thank you,
You
man.
guys are icons in this business, Hall of Famers, and as wrestling fans, we can only thank you for allowing us to watch you guys perform.
Oh, man.
Appreciate it.
Present that, again, thankful,
And I want to correct myself on one thing before we go.
What, that our show is better than yours?
Would you
Oh,
please?
there's no doubt who shows better.
Oh,
God,
no! Get it over.
You
That's
said
what
that.
I'm talking about.
Lobbed it over the
I mean,
plate.
with a snow
Softball
shovel.
to Dell.
Yes.
He had a snow shovel.
It's gone. It's
Oh, you're
going.
about to knock it.
But the thing I
It's
want to
still
correct
going.
is you asked me earlier if I had persuaded someone to change.
Yeah.
I, in fact, have. And it's the most important person in the world to me anyway. My daughter, like most people when they're younger, are liberal. Now she's a staunch Trump supporter. She's 26 years old. She's got her MAGA hat on.
That's what I'm
So,
talking
yes,
about.
that's the most important one.
She's old enough to
Absolutely.
know better.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Well, all I could say is God bless this country, and hopefully
Absolutely.
it improves for sure. Last thing before you send us out, Pharaoh, Julius Aarons goes, "What's up with the gloves?" A lot of people asking about your gloves today. What's going on with that?
it's
Someone
wicked.
asked you were going to rob someone. I said you're going to rob the Patriot after the interview.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, you picked the wrong
Where's
guy to
your
rob. I
mask?
ain't got
No,
it.
I'm not.
Yeah.
No.
Fuck yeah.
No. He could
Don't
keep
rob
his-
us.
He could keep his mask. It's been winter. We've had 7,000 feet of snow.
Okay.
So there you go. That's why I'm wearing it lately. I'm cold. Is that okay with you? What was it? Sound like somebody
It's
from Mary?
Julian Artis.
Yeah, sounds like somebody from Mary Poppins.
Oh, there you go. So now we just lost a fan. Well, that's one less subscriber.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Pharaoh.
Yeah,
Bye,
good
Julian.
job.
See you later.
All right, this has been Mike Monty.
This is the Pharaoh. Until next time, later.